readers, I'm Annie. I do my best to avoid reading and hearing about reviews of books before I've read them, aside from a few little wrap-ups and things I will watch just to get an idea as to if it's even something that I really want to pick up. But generally I will avoid reading reviews before I read a book because I know that I end up getting everyone else's opinion in my head and then I don't really enjoy the book to its fullest. But let me tell you, there is nothing more satisfying than trawling through Goodreads and reading the chaos that gets posted on Goodreads in the 1-star reviews. Whether it's a book you love or a book you hate, there is nothing more chaotic than the Goodreads review section. It is so funny to read the 1-stars of both books you love and books you hate. The amount of times that I've read the 1-star reviews of something that I've rated 5 stars and I've gone, actually you kind of have a point. And then sometimes I'll read it for a book I hate and I'm like, yes, thank you, I'm not the only person that hated this thing specifically. So I have enlisted the help of my husband today. He's picked out a couple of books for us to look at some 1-star reviews of. I haven't told him what I think of these books. I just gave him a list of some things that I've read recently and let him go to town. He had such a fun time in the Goodreads review section. Honestly, all I could hear was him giggling away while he was getting everything ready for me. Let's go through the books that we've got. First up, we've got Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is an Omegaverse Romeo and Juliet kind of vibe. I absolutely loved it. This like really rekindled my love for vampires, werewolves, all that kind of thing. It took me back to like 16-year-old Annie reading Wattpad. It was fabulous. I had a wonderful time. 5 stars from me. I absolutely loved it. We've got Tower of Dawn by Sarah J Maas. This is Kale's spin-off story in the Throne of Glass series, which I've read the Throne of Glass series definitely 2 times, maybe 3 times. And previously I've rated this book 3 stars, but this latest reread, I rated it 2 stars. I was like, I cannot wait until this book is over. Like, let's get on with things. Then we have Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. This is like an Indiana Jones kind of vibe romance where we've got our 2 main characters are archaeologists and they're trying to find the remains of Chamali, an ancient warrior of the Aztec Empire that no one else has been able to find, and it's so super cute and it like, I love this. This was 5 stars as well. I had a wonderful time. We've got Bloodstream by Emily Carter. Like, this is so funny that this is the book that he picked out of this list because I despised every second of this. This is actually my lowest rated book of the year so far. I will be shocked if anything takes its place. For a sports romance, there was not even a sprinkling of sports. I was so disappointed in this book, so I want to see what other people thought. I'm so excited. And then we have The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. Again, this was a 5-star read for me. I read this right after I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I absolutely adored this. We've got 2 werewolves who work in a hospital. She's in the ER, he's a cardiologist, and it's such a fun vibe. So I've got everything that he has prepped for me here. I am literally so excited. I'm just like bursting. I can't wait to read these. So I will link all of the videos where I wrap up all these books in the description box down below, but let's get straight into it. We're starting with Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. I do not care for this. That's hilarious. That's actually really funny. I'm loving the pun. What a vibe. I do care for this in every single way. Can we keep it to Wattpad, please? Right, okay, so I do agree that this like very much feels kind of Wattpad-y. It like took me back to being a teenager, solely reading Wattpad, refused to pick up an actual book, and Wattpad was where it was at, and it just like has that kind of vibe of 1 minute something like super intense and kind of eye-rolly is happening, and then the next minute it's like boring, mundane, everyday life. It has kind of both of those aspects in it, and I actually really loved it for that, and I love the Wattpad vibes. There's a couple of other books that I've read recently that like give the same kind of Wattpad-y vibes, like especially the Boys of Tommen series, like very much gives that vibe, and I'm really loving that vibe at the moment, so I get what you're saying. I disagree. You are officially condemned to a lifetime of misery. This is exactly how I felt after reading this book. Oh my god, okay, that line absolutely killed me. I squealed at that line. It's so funny. I was dying. I was living, breathing, dying. So our main character is called Misery, in case no one knew that. That line just like really did something for me. I was absolutely living, breathing, dying. That is the opposite of how I felt after reading this book. I literally finished it and I was like, no, please don't be over. Please don't be over. I need more. and I really want Ali Hazelwood to continue this kind of like fantasy vibe. I'm here for it. It's so fun. This is for you weird people that wanted a Jacob and Renesmee spin-off. Ali Hazelwood needs jail time for the last 10 pages. Was I entertained? Unfortunately. Was it good? No. This book should have never been allowed to see the light of day. I hate it because I totally get it. Thinking back about it, okay, I see where the Jacob and Renesmee bit comes in, and actually that's so funny. I was reading Filthy Rich Vampires the other day and I was literally like, oh, this is like an older version of Twilight, and like thinking about it, yes, this like gives that same eye-rolly vibe as if I was to try and reread Twilight now. I'd be like, oh my god, like, are you kidding? I'm gonna read these last 10 pages because I cannot, like, remember specifically what happened. You're not a problem, Misery. You're a privilege. Oh, no! It's a stunning last few pages. I love it. If you've read this, you kind of know what's going on. In the last 10 pages, they like really seal themselves as mates with each other, and I get why people feel weirded out by it. I don't know what that says about me, the fact that I like just could completely read it with a straight face and zero hesitation. But I disagree. I love this and I want more of it. And actually, reading back on it, doesn't Misery have a friend? I want the friend story. Okay, Ali, this is like my formal request. You're never gonna see this video, but I request the friend story. I want to know what's going on. Please bring back this world. I love it. And the last review we have says, this kills me to say, but let's go. The protagonist's name is Misery, which pretty much sums up my experience of reading this book. And I could not disagree more. I had such a fabulous time. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This was an amazing 5-star read for me. I loved it. It was super cute. It just like gave me all the right vibes. I had a fabulous time and I want more from this world. Also, it's such an Ali Hazelwood book, being the fact that it is like primarily kind of sciencey based. Like the reason that they're werewolves and vampires isn't magic, it's science based, and that's such an Ali Hazelwood thing to do, and I really vibe with it. Next up we have Tower of Dawn. Like I said, this is one that I rated 2 stars. I really didn't love it. It's really long for like what actually happens. I understand why people like it. I really hate it. I hate Cale as a character. That is not gonna change anytime soon. He absolutely drives me insane and I can't get that out of my head. This book for me is a snooze fest. It's not even good as a pillow. The only reason I read this in my reread was because I was buddy reading it with a couple of my friends in book club, and one of my friends has never read the entire series, so I was like, okay, fine, I will read the whole thing. And we did the tandem read, which makes it way less painful than reading it one after the other. I just don't care for this book. Like, this book could not exist and I would be quite happy. Like, I don't even care about it. My main problem with this book is that nothing happens the whole way through. Absolutely yes. I agree, 100% I agree, because there is literally nothing that happens in this book. It had other issues as well. I might one day feel productive enough to write them down in a proper review. 1 star. Why am I doing this to myself? And on my birthday, no less. Don't ever say I'm not a masochist. That's hilarious. That is so funny. Why would you do this to yourself on your birthday? No, I totally get the fact that the main issue is that nothing happens. There are other issues in this as well. I'm not gonna go into them because this is so late in the series. I feel like if you talk too much about it, you kind of like give away a whole load of stuff that happens before this book. So just in case no one has read it, I'm gonna do my best not to give spoilers on the entire series. Nothing happens in this book. This book could not exist and life would continue. A horror story. Me picking up this book innocently, thinking it's the next one in the series. Me gradually filled with horror as I realised 5 chapters in, it's still about Cale. Me rushing to Goodreads to read reviews and finding out the entire book is about him. DNF around 15%, and that's already too much. Honestly, yes. If I ever reread this series again, I will not be reading this book. Like, I just don't care for it. I don't feel like it actually provides enough value to the series as a whole. But at the same time, if someone's going to read it through for the first time, I'm like, you do kind of have to suffer through it, because there are some things that do get explained, but like, when you know, you don't have to go back to this. Sigh. At least I can now use it to write my thesis and hate on it there. Yes, I could probably write a thesis on how much I hate this book. Like, it's just White supremacy always deserves a 1 star. Girl, you got a point. I'm sorry. I'm so happy this book is over. If this book hadn't been mandatory for the rest of the series, I would have definitely DNF'd it. The characters were boring, the plot was boring, the romance was boring, and everything felt so irrelevant. The only reason this got 2 stars is because I'm too nice to give it 1. Edit finally changed this to 1 star. This is what I mean, like, you do actually have to read it the first time over, but when you're doing rereads, you can scrap it. Honestly, this is making me want to change my 2 stars to 1 stars because I completely agree with every single point. The characters were boring. Every single person in this book was basically a cardboard box. Not even a cardboard box, they're just like one side of a cardboard box. The plot was boring. Yes, nothing actually happens. Literally, I can't say anything else. The romance was boring. Yes, I agree. And actually that was one thing that really came up in our book club, is this basically feels like we've got Kale and Nezrin, and there are 2 main characters that we kind of take from the main series into this like spin-off book. It basically just felt like, oh no, they don't have partners, let me give them life partners. And it basically felt like we were watching an episode of Love Island or something, or like one of those like cheesy dating shows where you get like shoved with someone and told to make it work. Like, that's the vibe it gives. I am so not here for it. I literally do not watch those programs because I just can't take it. And I kind of feel like I now want to change this to a 1 star for myself. Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. I loved this book. I really loved it from start to finish. I thought it was so cute, such a vibe. I had a wonderful time. It gave me all the Indiana Jones vibes. After reading this, I ended up rewatching the entire movie series of Indiana Jones, and I had a wonderful time. I've always loved that film series. I've always loved that kind of vibe. Being quite an outdoorsy person, I love that kind of setting of things, and honestly, going to a Mexican jungle, I will never get to do that. So I'm gonna live vicariously through my books. This was like the archaeology side of the way I experience sport romances. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. I actually really enjoyed the romance. I really enjoyed the characters. I think there's another book coming out. I don't know if we've got any crossover characters, but I'm gonna want that one as well. All I wanted was a fun book, but I got this annoying, frustrating book. Whoever said this has mummy vibes has watched that movie with their eyes closed. That's really funny because I've never actually watched Mummy. This gave me very much Indiana Jones vibes. This was cute. I loved it. This was a fun book. What are you talking about? Sometimes it's not the patriarchy. Sometimes you're just a terrible archaeologist with terrible taste in men. Okay. No, I'm gonna give it to that one. Ford Matthews was kind of boring in the middle section, and he was a little bit of a stick in the mud. He was like, no, we can't do this because like health and safety, and we can't do this, and like you're not allowed to do this on your own, you're not allowed to do that on your own. And it was like, bro, let me live my life. Okay, you might have a point there. This book has only 110. But I must have only 1 brain cell for forcing myself to finish it, even though I knew it was going to be a 1 to 2 star read for me. I loved that scene. I was dying with the only 1/10 thing. That was so funny. What are you doing? I feel like my heart is breaking reading this. I loved that bit. This book is filled with a particular type of humour that makes me cringe because it feels like it's trying too hard to make me laugh. Honestly, I was howling with laughter. I loved this. I had a great time. This is very much my kind of humour, and I feel like that is quite a personal thing. And if it's not your kind of humour, okay, fine, fair enough, girly. It is absolutely mine. I was giggling, I was laughing. It was stupid, it was silly, it was like kind of dumb and eye-rolly, but I loved it for that. Maybe I don't like this genre. That's fair. That's fair. If it's not your genre, that's fair. Like, I am not a thriller girly, and I've DNF thrillers, and I've 1-starred thrillers that other people have absolutely adored, and they're like, how can you not like it? And I'm like, it's just the genre. So that is a totally fair statement. Maybe I don't like the author. Again, also fair. Some people's writing just doesn't work, so I will give you those statements. That is fair and valid. We'll never have a definitive answer because I'm not trying either again. Fair. I have done that too on multiple occasions with multiple different kinds of books. Totally fair. Man, what the hell? This tried too hard. I'm going back to fantasy this year. This did give a little bit of fantasy vibes in the middle of it, and I think that's because you kind of get really into like a lot of like depth with like world building and lore and like mythology and stuff. But I actually really loved it for that, but then I do love fantasy anyway, so of course I was gonna love it for that. Half the plot was that she was tired of being treated like a joke because she was super attractive and no one ever looked past that. But also, the only thing ever described about her was her boobs. Like, please, be for real. Okay, no, that is a valid comment. That is a totally valid comment. Especially in, like, the very early bit of the book, she goes on and on about how she's like, oh, like, I don't get taken seriously in my job as an archaeologist, and, like, I don't get all this stuff, like, offered to me, and like other people get all these like fun expeditions and stuff because they're men, like this isn't fair, blah blah blah, like just because of the way I look. But then like literally the like it's not like the long legs and the flowing hair and the like conventionally attractive face, it's like boobs. I can't even deny that statement. That's totally accurate. Anyway, I got 1 hour of sleep last night, so naturally I'm going to go read a better book to cleanse my mind. At least the COVID smart book didn't take itself this seriously. Yes, I did attempt to read Kissing the Coronavirus. Yes, I do instantly regret it. You are a braver person than I am. I stayed so well clear of that book and I have no intention of ever going anywhere near it. Like, that's just... I will try a lot of things. That is not one of them. Oh, I do love when my husband adds comments in. So he said, when you don't understand how star rating works, 1 star. Super cute cover. It is a super cute cover. I love this cover. I think it's adorable. Maybe that was all they had to say about it, was that I had a cute cover and they just really hated the inside. I don't know. Bloodstream by Emily Carter. I will link the vlog where I read this down below and you will get all of my thoughts. The first segment of this, I was like, yeah, I'm loving it. I'm vibing it. Where's the sport? Like, surely that's coming soon. And then absolutely nothing. And then my biggest gripe with this book is Julian has this big secret that he refuses to tell Faith, refuses to even tell the reader. We get to like, I think it's roughly about the 75% mark that we as the reader find out what it is, and I literally sat there and I put down the book and I went, that was the secret? That was it? Really? I feel like I'm gonna be vibing with these 1-star reviews. I rated this 1 star. I probably should have DNF'd it, but I was reading it for a video and I really wanted to just like continue. Honestly, I hated it. Plot, don't know her. Romance, cringier than my fedora wearing phase when I was 12. What a book. I agree with everything. I did not have a fedora wearing phase as a 12-year-old. However, I completely agree. Closest I've ever been to DNF. When it finally got good, I mean, 250 pages in, they break up with 20 pages to go. Yeah, that was the thing. They like break up basically right at the end and then it's like 3 paragraphs later and they're back together and I'm like, the point of this was what exactly? Did this book even have an editor or was it pulled straight from Wattpad? DNF at page 182. Apparently this was originally self-published, got picked up and got re-edited, and apparently there's a whole load of people that, like, because I read this after I'd actually finished reading it, but there's a whole load of people that really hate the re-edit, and apparently the original was meant to be like really, really good, but when it got its re-edit, when it got picked up by Penguin, it went out the window. It's now really bad. Part of me almost wants to like read the original to see like how different it is, but also part of me is like, please don't make me suffer through this again. She literally spells her own character's name wrong within the first chapter. Where? Oh my god, I have to see this. How did I not see that? I'm normally so hot on stuff like that. I am losing faith in this 1-star review. I feel like you lied to me. My copy seems to be absolutely fine. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you lying to me, Ellie, but my copy, her name is spelled correctly unless I can't spell the name Faith and I'm stupid, which is very quite likely a probability. Anyway, moving on. And the last book we have is The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. Again, I really, really loved this. It's another Omegaverse book. We've got 2 werewolves who work in a hospital. She works in the ER and he is a cardiologist. He's an alpha and he's basically like not telling people that he's an alpha, which is apparently what they're meant to do in this world, and they're meant to like disclose that they're an alpha because it's supposed to make you more aggressive, but he's been taking this medication that basically like suppresses all of that. She's an Omega, so she's like the perfect coupling for him or something. I don't really know that much about Omegaverse, okay? I just kind of bum along and do my own thing. Leave me to it. It is fine. DNF, because what in the Wattpad was this? No, that's fair. This does give Wattpad vibes. It's very convenient at times. There's a lot of places where it's like, oh, that's convenient. Like, she just so happens to conveniently have a phone call with her grandmother and say to her grandmother that she's dating someone just as he walked past because conveniently he needs someone to pretend that they're dating him to get past like the board of directors or whatever at this hospital. Like, it's all very convenient, but I really loved it for that because sometimes I just want to read something a little bit mindless and a little bit convenient, and this gave me that. Absolutely do not read this book, and please do not judge me and Kim for reading it. We thought we would be silly, we were gravely mistaken. I would like to Fahrenheit 451 this book. Every time I turned a page, I wanted to DNF it. Every time I turned a page, I was like, oh, I need to keep going. I cannot put this down. Unfortunately, we decided to power through. I'd like to scrub this from my brain though. I don't ever want to learn about werewolf anatomy ever again. I'd like to give this 0 stars. Again, I feel like this is kind of one of those things if it's like, if a megaverse is not going to be your kind of thing, you're probably not going to love this. I feel like a megaverse is definitely something I could absolutely throw myself headfirst into and enjoy every single second of it and be like, come out completely unscathed. I am kind of one of these people that I can like read anything with a straight face, like in a public setting, and I just like won't care. For anyone else who didn't know, Fahrenheit 451 is the auto-ignition temperature for paper, which is 233 C. I learned something new today. This book is what you'd get if you were to throw together a few tropes with paper-thin characters and plot, mediocre writing, and a ton of smart. I've heard the Omegaverse can bring with it a lot of nuance and interesting dynamics, but here it just felt like wolf erotica, which that's fine if that's your thing, but it's not mine. That's fair. Like, if it's not your thing, fine, like, whatever, like, you do you. I get what you're saying about, like, the paper-thin characters and plot. The entire thing was, like, focused on the romance, the mating and stuff of these two werewolves, less about what's actually happening in the world. So that's fair. It was very character central rather than plot central. Yes, I do actually also agree with the fact that the characters were kind of 2D. Like, they didn't have like a huge amount of depth to them. Like, they didn't really seem to have like hobbies and things or like favorite food. And like for me, that's kind of what, well, I mean, she has a favorite food, but it's soup. Yeah, no, I have to say I actually agree with that. Oh, this is the Kim from Tara's review earlier. That's so cute. If I could give it 0 stars, I would. Look, we all make mistakes, and I'd actually like to not talk about this one. Tara and I thought the cover looked cute and silly. It, in fact, was not cute and silly. I am, in fact, traumatized. I think I'm going to stand under the shower, contemplating to what brought me here now. If it's not your vibe, it's not your vibe. I feel like this is very much the kind of book and the kind of story of like, you have to be fully invested into werewolves and everything that comes with that. I'm here for it. I'm like here for just about anything like that. Like, I feel like I'm stepping back into like my paranormal romance kind of era. Don't worry guys, she learned alpha anatomy in med school. I have nothing else to say about that. That sums everything up. Thank you guys so much for coming to hang out with me and reading these 1-star reviews. This has been so much fun. Honestly, I agree with so many of the points that people made about these books. The good, the bad, the ugly, the in-between, the questionable, the distraught. Every single thing, I'm like, okay, you have a point. And I think the resounding theme of this has been, if it's not your genre, like, that's okay. You're allowed to not like something that someone else loves. And it's okay to do that, because there is going to be no book in the world, and I guarantee this, there is no book in the world that is going to be a 5-star for everyone. You can't be everybody's cup of tea. Make it how you please. I loved some of these books, I hated some of these books, and I'm sure there is someone who feels the exact opposite about every single one of these books to how I feel. But thank you guys so much for coming to hang out with me. I've had a wonderful time reading these reviews, honestly. It has been so much fun. All of my links are down below, as well as a link to my own book. Do feel free to go ham in the Goodreads review section with my book. That would actually make me really happy. I don't care what you think about it. Go have fun with it. Go read it. Let me know what you think about it. When I read them, I'm gonna giggle. Alright, I can guarantee I will giggle. Do go check that out, as well as all of my socials down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!